Given that the Penguin show is finally out and Batman 2 is probably going to take place in winter or snowy Gotham, I want to theorize about the next Reeves Batman film. A popular contender for the sequel's villain has been Mr. Freeze for a while, and if we take him as the villain for the Batman 2, the plot is probably mostly going to be based on Heart of Ice from BTAS. That's the story that popularized the version of Freeze that we know in the first place, and it could tie into this Batman's arc of slowly turning into a more heroic person. I think the majority of that already happened in the first movie, and I don't think it needs to be like the Spider-Man Home trilogy where he takes the whole 3 movies to become comic accurate, but at least appearance and iconography wise, it can still be done. Batman ends the first movie learning to become a symbol of hope, and Freeze can be a foil to that by sending the opposite message out. He becomes a villain through his empathy for his wife, ironically shutting himself away from anyone who even wants to help. Another thing is that Reeves wants his Batman universe to be realistic, so maybe he could lock people in refrigerators or freeze them after killing them, but we know Riddler was modeled heavily after the Zodiac Killer, and making all the villains like that would just get boring. So a fresh idea would be to make Freeze look almost exactly like the animated series version, ice gun and suit included. He would be a completely new breed of villain, shoving Batman out of his element and being the first real supervillain in this universe. Look at the Arkham City boss fight with Freeze. It can definitely lead to some insane action set pieces if you give Freeze all of his equipment, and given what we saw in the final fight of the first movie, I'd say Matt Reeves definitely has the directing chops to make this work. I don't think Reeves wants to copy Nolan, and I don't think any fans want to see a retread of the Nolan trilogy either. Otherwise, I would have been excited to see what he could have done with Bane and Venom. If we're going the route of pure physical threat, my next pick is 100% Deathstroke. It's a huge oversimplification, but he's kind of like an anti Batman. Not in the same way as Bane, but similar enough. The original Affleck solo movie got cancelled, but they could just sort of rework that into this for the second movie, and there's a way to make it work. Deathstroke could come to Gotham after Batman becomes famous as a vigilante figure and does everything he can to kill him. They could even have a Nightfall callback or find a way to adapt that into this, where Batman is hunted down during the night and Bruce Wayne as a public figure is hunted down during the day. If Deathstroke does show up in some way in these movies, it has the potential to show us some of the best choreography ever seen in the entire Batman franchise, hands down. Look at the Arkham Origins boss fight or just the trailers, for example. Every time he shows up, he's a physical and mental match for Batman. And if we're not retreading Bane, this is probably the best pick for an exciting viewing experience. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.